Therefore, we started from Indus Valley civilization, jumped to later stages. We became behind Europe, we meaning all of Asia and Africa, of course, and then we started catching up. Now, China and India, in many of the things, are anyway equal to US, but in production and in manufacturing, China is ahead now, having become the world manufacturing leader. While we have become leaders in IT-enabled services, and our excess manpower, or anyway the manpower who prefers to go to West for the advantages they get, are the ones who are dominating many of the tech companies, Google and Apple and whatnot. These people are the ones who are really providing the brain power in those companies. However, as I just noticed, that we have not developed branded software here, except an exception of Infosys, which developed Finacle with ICICI when it became a bank. And its risk was covered because ICICI did an agreement by which if it did not work out, was not going to penalize them and still pay them by the hour, etc. And that Finacle for a while went abroad. But besides that, and it was a special relationship of Mr. Narayan Murthy and Mr. Kamath, the MD of ICICI at that time. I was also on the board of ICICI and the chair of the technology committee. So therefore, we are low to medium end of the value addition in this. This is the problem. Now, so counting sector by sector, once the hybrid varieties came, we had our own fertilizer plants, by the way, again with the support of the USSR, but we were short of oil. We had some things explored here, but the technology didn't develop well. Technology centers were not there, and therefore, every next time we had to go to somebody outside, mostly North American, to set up the refineries and so on. And so currently in the private sector, the biggest refineries are Reliance and what used to be SR's refinery, which is with the Russian refinery company. And there are the public sector companies, yes. In a sense, they are with it, but neither they have been able to explore much outside and nor able to explore much inside. And therefore, we import a lot of oil, and this is what takes our lot of money in imports. Number one, oil and crude. And we will continue to do so because we are growing, and along with the growth, the oil. So in this sector, technology has not developed that much as it could have, as it should have. We are lucky to have a relationship again with Russia, where we are getting the discounted oil. And that makes a lot of difference. The oil price makes a lot of difference in terms of logistics costs and therefore cost of commodities, etc. Now going further, in consumer products, it is strange that in fact we have not developed much technology. Yes, some brands have developed, Amul, Parle-G, Cipla, which are world-class brands. But even there, the technology of Vanaspati, for example, Dalda, it used to be called, now it's maybe called by other brand name, came from the Unilever headquarters, not from India. Except for biscuits and few things like that, even chocolate brand comes from outside. Lots of brands come from outside still, and the Indians have not developed the brand names or the technology, that is. Okay, now going to the next step. In low cholesterol oils, Saffola, etc., yes, we have done the work, and correspondingly we grow things which give us low cholesterol oil. Now let's go to the next point, the highest import is military equipment. We have supported the DRDO lab, Defense Research Development Organization, for all these years since 1956. There have been excellent scientists in that. They've also made a lot of patents. But except, I think, for night goggles and few other things, even for night goggles, they still buy it from the outside, though it is developed in DRDO. So it's difficult to say from the outside what is the contribution made by them. Except trained people are there when they leave after retirement, they are immediately picked up by the private sector. Okay, or their children, because of the atmosphere in home, etc., etc. For example, space have developed education and training in that area, and they are good either here or then again gone abroad. Now let's come to Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. After a long time, they have now completed their Tejas project, and it has got commissioned in Kashmir. But we are still looking for Rafale and other jets from outside at 10, 20, 30 times the price. Can't understand. Though even for Tejas, the engine is imported from abroad. Doesn't matter, at least you are making fuselage and the rest of the things. Digitization of military equipment has made the earlier items, tanks and guns and other things, almost obsolete. So the Western forces will have all these digital supported weapons and even ammunitions, missiles, long range missiles, air to surface to air missiles, surface to sea missiles. So as we noticed in Ukraine war, it is a war of missiles. It's a war of technology actually. We don't even see any human beings there or human beings killed and all that. They don't even give the pictures. But basically it is technology of West and technology of Russia which is fighting there. Be that as it may, though recently they have, Indian Prime Minister and Defense Minister have gone everywhere and try to procure weapons, but that makes one feel bad. Now, what is on the good side of it? But by going out, a lot of countries have started buying the things which are good in our country. Now, what is it? That is at the confluence of our space industry, not so much defense industry, that we started making our own rockets, because nobody else will give us the technology. And we had a man like Abdul Kalam, who was a good scientist, and therefore, with his team could make missiles. Once you have made your own missiles and your own rockets and your own satellites, then you can go to space, and of course, you can use it for military equipment. So, so our missiles, BrahMos missile, technology is from Russia again. The Americans won't give us, Europeans won't give us. And in any case, this is as good as anybody else who is making it. So the BrahMos missile have now gone to 18 other militaries. This is the meaning of technology. And if it's your own, you can go. Otherwise, they would not even allow you to sell to those particular parties. Going further, in the space, Indian Space Research Organization has done a very good job of science and then showing the science, which is wanting to go to Mars, wanting to go to Moon, and now, right now Chandrayaan 3 is there, and then satellite launching of your own country, others, big satellites for communication, smaller satellites for the low Earth orbits, where we have competition with SpaceX. Because SpaceX is a private company and not NASA. And they also launch the satellites for their own purposes so far. In our case, it's not for our own purposes, it is for the general market, World One or others. Now, this is becoming a big market. Every time 36 satellites of World One are launched, a company headquartered in UK, we get 1,000 crore rupees. Now, this is additional. This has become a private company there. Fourth point, our startup system was not very active. We did have small industries coming up and MSMEs coming up and all that, but policy was not very good, not very favorable. If you get loans and if you can't pay, you have very bad time. Much of the labor used to be migrant labor. Now they've started staying, say, let's say, Delhi or Noida or Gurgaon or Manesar. But earlier they will go back, farming season and all that. So some atmosphere has changed there. Hence, certain technologies now we are starting to develop a lead and market it. Surprisingly, in consumer good products and consumer durables come from Samsung or companies like that. Washing machines, fridges, we don't make any. And there, if one has to see what is the issue is the R&D becoming market oriented. What is required in the market, and that's how we do the R&D, not that I will do this science and somebody will find some use of it. There are a lot of positive stories also. And I am emphasizing a negative story that consumer products and consumer durables, which should have been far easier, and we have let go of that market to Korea and earlier Japan, now China, and now from China it's coming to Vietnam, Thailand. They will be making these things, and they make in large quantities. We can't think large quantities because the government policy is not stable. So it's a combination of geo-environment, which is also political, because US will not give you high tech. US will put a lot of restrictions that you can't sell that tech. They have put restrictions on what tech can be sold to China, so you have to go around it. And there are so many parts in these things and so many patents and so on and so forth that it becomes very difficult to bypass them. Advantage of India, of course, is availability of large number of competent engineers and scientists, which a lot of other countries don't have, except China. Now, the Chinese and Indians used to go to Europe and USA. 98% Indians never came back. 98% people, Chinese, went back to China. Same thing happened to Japan earlier. Same thing has happened to Korea. So there is a little difference. Our persons like to settle abroad. Nothing wrong. They come back. Look at the example of semiconductors. Micron is coming and setting up a plant in Gujarat for semiconductors. We don't have any semiconductor manufacturing, and it happens to be an NRI, Malhotra, which is very, very well respected in the USA. So we'll see, because with the Foxconn, it has not worked out. Foxconn, an assembling company coming from Taiwan oblique China, they have a setup there where they used to make for Apple smartphones. So they tied up with Vedanta to set up a semiconductor plant. That arrangement has not worked out. So they are tying up in Tamil Nadu for putting up a semiconductor plant now. By the way, we used to have in 1980s semiconductor company called National Semiconductor Company Limited, and that plant was successful in making 12 micron chips, but it was burned down. It was sabotage. That also we have to look. Sabotage, people picked up, and so on and so forth. So we will kind of stop it here and then take some specific case studies, like semiconductors we just mentioned, or space. And the latest in the space is very exciting. Virgin, which is a private company, used to have Virgin Airlines, very marketing-oriented Bronson man. And they have, for the first time, a tourist flight to space, which they did yesterday, called the Virgin Galactic. Similarly, Elon Musk is planning through SpaceX, space tourism. Each flight, each person costs about $1 million, but there are people to pay that. So space tourism is a new business. And of course, as we just mentioned, launching the satellites is a new business, and we have full capability for that in India. And semiconductors is now developing, and we became 40 years behind the times because of that plant being burned. So we're hopeful things will be far, far better in the next decade and for the next generation. So thank you.